Welcome to the Through the Lens of Learning podcast. If we haven't met, hello, I'm your host, Dr. Tracy Schroyer. I'll give you 2 words that summarize me to a T: lifelong learner. Join me as I share a bit about my own journey of curiosity, learning, and wonder. You'll also get to hear from some phenomenal individuals on what they're curious about learning and what they have to share too. Are you itching with excitement yet? I am, so let's get started. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Tracy Schroyer, and this is another episode of the Through the Lens of Learning podcast. So on this episode, you're getting me again. We have an exciting season 3 coming up and doing some prep for that, and going to start recording in the next couple weeks. That will launch later in October, so stay tuned on. There is a theme for season 3. Super excited about that. If you're interested in being a guest and have a learning journey to share, that might be your academic, your professional, in life, in general, let me know, and you could possibly be a future guest. So you can go to tracyschroyerphd.com and click on podcast, and you'll get the access to the guest request form. So that's tracyschroyerphd.com, and click on podcast and submit your request to be a guest and join me on a future episode. So for this episode, I want to talk about, I struggle with what to call it. So I don't know if when you see this episode, if it'll be called Lessons Learned, Back to the Basics, Back to Me, maybe. So I have been an entrepreneur for quite a while. A while back, I had a business that was called Beyond the Stone Wall. And I provided quite a bit of career support, career services support. So I did resume writing, one-on-one, resume workshops, interviewing workshops, LinkedIn insights, lots of different things. Just did it on the side here and there. It wasn't anything significant, and it didn't take up a large portion of my time. That ended up kind of fading away, and many of you know that I went through breast cancer in 2020 and several surgeries, and was reinvigorated to ignite a business for myself in entrepreneurship. And in addition to that, I work full time, and I also am an adjunct professor on the side. And somebody could not believe it when I ran into somebody at a conference recently, and they were talking about all that I do. But I said, you know what? I learned more about my human design and who I am and how I'm made up. And that's me. It's not everybody. Maybe that is exhausting to even just think of working and going home in and of itself. And that's fine. It's not for everybody. I'm not for everybody. I love that saying and that shirt from Lee Cordell. But what I have found is about 1.5 years ago, I launched Upskill University, and that was in March of 2021. And I tried a lot of different things. It was really an experiment for me over that first year of entrepreneurship as to what I was going to do, kind of what was going to stick, what didn't, failing fast to figure that out. And about a month ago, I had announced that Upskill University was going to be transitioning into the Society for Lifelong Learning. And I was excited. I was a bit nervous, but I was excited. It was something I had planned for quite a few months. I had seen the vision for it, but there was something still that kind of, I felt like held me back. And drop me a note, let me know if you have ever had this experience too. It was like, I feel like I'm going the right direction, but I don't have a ton of validation. Like I felt like I saw some signs that were pointing me there, and that it needed to grow and it needed to change. So I want to share with you something that recently happened. This is actually being recorded on September 26th of 2022. And quite a few days ago, mid to late last week, I started a challenge with Brittany Bowman. Brittany Bowman is amazing. She is the founder and CEO of Clutter HQ, and she helps you to declutter your life. And with decluttering, Some of you may know just from experience of doing this, oftentimes when you declutter, you're not only decluttering things, physical, tangible things, but it's helping you to declutter your mind and you're getting more clarity. And I have had, I would say maybe an epiphany. So Saturday morning, I woke up and I just had this overwhelming feeling of what I needed to do with my business and that I wasn't going about everything fully the correct way. And in entrepreneurship, sometimes there isn't always the correct way. Like there's things that make you money, there's things that don't make you money, there's things that bring you clients that don't bring you clients or followers or connections or whatever. So there's not a fast and easy, here's the path to go be a successful entrepreneur kind of thing. So woke up Saturday, kind of had this epiphany, and I grabbed paper and sat down soon after I got up. And I just started writing. And writing. And I am not a journaler. Shout out to all of you who can do that, especially like the gratitude journals or any kind of journals. It's not been something that I do frequently. And I wouldn't say this was journaling. This was just like thoughts and ideas and things that kind of came to me and the clarity that came to me. So in the beginning of this challenge by Brittany Bowman, I had decluttered. It's a wardrobe challenge that we're actually wrapping up here, I believe today. And hopefully she'll do another one because it's amazing. And so I paid a very small amount, well worth it to be part of this challenge. And every day she gave you tips, best practices, encouragement, motivation. And so on one day I was working and it was a jam-packed work day. And so, excuse me, for that day, I chose two drawers. I have two slide out drawers under my bed. I'm just going to tackle these two drawers. So I tackled those two drawers. I think it was the day before that, the first day of the challenge, I tackled jewelry. So I have a ton of jewelry. I typically wear the same jewelry all the time. Or every once in a while, I'll get a little crazy and wear some dangly earrings I have or like a cute necklace. But I have a ton of costume necklaces, not a whole lot of earrings, and they're hanging in my closet. And it's like, why do you let this stuff overwhelm you? All this stuff. And there's all this stuff that you're looking at you never use. And so that first day was really looking through those necklaces, the jewelry that I had, the earrings, things like that, and figuring out. For me, I made a huge pile. I think I ended up having 18 items between necklaces and earrings that I am going to donate. And for those specific items, and I was able to work on my closet just over the weekend. The dressier items or more professional items, and the jewelry types of things, I am going to look at finding a location to drop them off for Dress for Success, so that women can use those as they're getting into the workforce or they're getting back into the workforce, and that they can get those instead of just taking them to like a thrift store or something like that. And so I was working on this, and in the midst of it, that's when I had this epiphany. Woke up Saturday, started writing all of this stuff, and it made me think of, so let me tell you another story real quick. When I was working on my dissertation, when I had my dissertation defense for my PhD program, it was in January of 2013. One of my committee members told me, you need to take what you're doing and you need to write a book. This is valuable, helpful information for people. You need to turn this into a book. That's awesome. Like, that would be so cool if I could do that one day. Like, thinking that's far off. Like, I don't know. And it wasn't until 4 years later, it was actually almost 5 years, 4.5, 5 years later, that I did publish my book. And I listened to that advice and I went about figuring out how to do it. And you can publish through an author, you can self-publish. There's benefits and drawbacks to both. So figuring out which way to go. So somebody had given me advice and a suggestion. And I thought, that's a good idea. And then I sat and I didn't do anything with it until years later. And it's okay if you don't take advice from people or suggestions from people. A lot of people are looking out for your best interests. Some people are not. So I had gotten advice from a coach. So this is my social media coach, strategy coach, Chrissy Connor. And Chrissy, maybe she wasn't speaking just directly to me. It was really in a group setting. But I remember her saying a long time ago when somebody had asked her the question about setting up like your Facebook page specifically, not your Facebook profile, but your Facebook page. And they're like, should I name it after my business or should it be me? And Chrissy gave the advice or the suggestion that it should be your name, that you are your brand, and people are likely going to buy your products or your services because there's some kind of attraction to you. And so at that moment, I had my Facebook page, not my profile, my Facebook page set up as the business name I had at the time. And that was Upskill University. So I went in like within minutes of her telling me that, and I changed it to my name. Now, there's a lot of different things, and Facebook can be temperamental on views, follows, anything like that. And then when I set up my group for Facebook, I set it up under my business. And her recommendation was really for your page that you are your brand, and people are attracted to buying your services, what you offer, what you bring to the table. But typically as entrepreneurs, it's our story and why we got into doing this or why we are interested in helping people and doing what we do, that brings people to the table. And I know that was said to us at some point in 2021. And I woke up Saturday and I was like, why am I struggling so much in this last year and a half with my business? And I'm one to talk a lot about time management, stress management, and how I balance my plates, all the hats that I wear, all of that type of stuff. Why am I working so hard to have my brand, me, and my business, which I was categorizing separately? So I'm basically working full time, I'm teaching, and then I'm trying to operate two businesses because my brand, I need to really put that out there. And even a former manager of mine had said, your brand is so important. So if we think about people like Gary V, Grant Cardone, Rachel Peterson, Marie Forleo, Jenna Kutcher, all of these people, Lewis Howes, their brand is them and they bring that to the table. And they may have businesses or what they offer or names of their businesses, that kind of thing. I mean, there's always that behind the scenes, of course. But when you think about those people, typically you're thinking about the people and then going and looking at what they bring to the table or what they offer. You're not so concerned about, oh, here's this, and then they have this. So if we thought about Gary V as an example, if you go to Gary Vaynerchuk's website, which I looked at a lot of different websites when I was getting inspiration for mine. Rachel Peterson was a huge inspiration, her website. So shout out to your website designer, developer. But if you go to Gary Vaynerchuk's website, you will see that it's about Gary V, but he also puts on his front page, here's information about all of my businesses. Granted, all of those businesses probably have separate websites, may or may not. They might have groups, whatever, on social media. But you're looking at him and what he's bringing to the table and his personality and his character and what he offers. And I thought to myself, I am, grinding all these gears and working really hard and feeling like I'm not going fast enough. And a lot of that is my own, how I feel. A lot of people say they see me out there. So thank you. If you're one of those who have commented, liked, or, said something in a message or when we've seen each other in person, about liking what I put out there and what I make available on social media. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, why am I pushing so hard to try to keep my brand and my business running at the same speed? And thinking back to what Christy Connor had said about, it's your brand and you're selling your brand and you're putting yourself out there. So this epiphany that I had on Saturday was I need to pull back and step back a little bit from pushing my business from as far as the name of a business to put out there. We only have so much time and so much energy. And why am I trying to get both of these rolling when it makes sense to put something more into one bucket, push that out, get further down the road, and then add another piece in there? So you have this well-oiled machine running, and then you're adding in, here's an additional feature or option. And so when I woke up Saturday, it was, I need to pull back a little bit, pull back a lot of it on the Society for Lifelong Learning, what Upskill University has, evolved into. And I want to focus, at least through the rest of this year, the first half of next year, I want to get really intentional, really authentic, and really focused on my brand and me. What learning means to me, so that when people hear the term lifelong learner or lifelong learning, my name comes to the top of the list and you think of me. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to offer a lot of things that I've offered before. I have already, just in the short time frame since I woke up Saturday morning, have taken the Society for Lifelong Learning page and redirected it to my page, tracyschroyerphd.com. I still have all the content that I had from that Society of Lifelong Learning page. So I can revisit that, pull that back up, stream that back in, eventually when I'm ready to. But I wanted to get really focused and draw people to one point to be able to go from there. As part of that, I have information on my website, Tracy Schroyer PhD, where you can go really one of two ways. So you can go LinkedIn route or the Facebook route. Most of the people that I interact with are on LinkedIn, but I do still have individuals who get a lot of benefit and support through what I offer on Facebook. And a lot of times Facebook is right there in your face. One of the things that I had pulled back on a lot before in trying to figure out what's the right path for me was Instagram. I don't know that that was the right decision, but I kept it around. I deactivated my account for a little bit. I created a new account for the Society for Lifelong Learning. I've since deactivated that. So I have been pouring more into my Tracy Schroyer PhD Instagram. And the nice thing is with Facebook and Instagram tied together, it's very easy to be able to push things out to both. And with different systems I have to be able to push things out to those. So on LinkedIn, from that perspective, I have my profile, which is Tracy Schroyer PhD. So we can connect there if we have not connected already. If you're not comfortable connecting or following me through my profile on LinkedIn, I do have a LinkedIn page, and pages are typically for like your business or, entrepreneurs, things like that can set that up. They may not push as much out into their page on LinkedIn as they would do on their profile or their group. So on LinkedIn, my page is Tracy Schroyer PhD lifelong learner. And then in LinkedIn, I have created a group, which I have not had before. And the name of that group is called Where Lifelong Learners Unite. And I will be pouring a lot into that group. I'll be working to market that group to my connections. I still need to kind of figure out what does that look like between the group and the profile. But I definitely want to grow that group and encourage people to be a part of that. On the Facebook side, so the Facebook side, I have my personal profile, just Tracy Schroyer. I have my Facebook page, which is Tracy Schroyer, PhD dash lifelong learner. So if you're seeing similarities here. And then my group in Facebook, I've updated the name. We have, I think, over 230, 240 people in the group right now. The group name has changed to Where Lifelong Learners Unite. So when I pour into the LinkedIn group, I'll be pouring into the Facebook group the same. So if you prefer one platform versus the other, that's fine. You're going to see the same. And then on Instagram, if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's just Tracy Schroyer, PhD. And then also my email list. So my email list will be integral for finding information about different courses that I launch, workshops that I do, speaking opportunities, challenges, all of those things. I'm going to continue to do that and do it from me, from I am the brand offering these things and putting these out into the world. So that is kind of where I am today. I wanted to be able to tell that story and to share that, especially for other entrepreneurs out there who may be struggling to try to keep up with both you as your brand. And it's not, I guess it's not for everyone that you're trying to do you as your brand and then a business name kind of thing too. So for me as my brand from an entrepreneur's perspective, a while back, a former manager had also mentioned to me that I should have my own LLC with my name. So everything that I'm doing right now from here forward with my brand as me is under Tracy Schroyer, PhD LLC. And I had opened that up a couple months back when I had gotten that feedback. So I appreciate that. So down the road, I definitely want to, I have that vision for what I'm doing with the Society for Lifelong Learning. And I definitely want to do something related to that and open that up and have members be a part of it and figure out what that looks like. But right now, I'm going to put that on the back burner. I'm going to set that plate down if you go with my visuals that I give you and focus on me as the brand, what I bring to the table from a lifelong learning perspective. And I realize too how different I am, and not everybody has that human design that I do or actually engages in, that human design with all the different plates I'm balancing. But I want to be able to share more of that full perspective. So seeing me as a full-time employee in my, my 9-to-5 job, seeing me as an entrepreneur, seeing me as a dog mom, as a wife, as a creative, all of the different projects I might do on the side, the DIY kind of thing. Seeing me as a professor and working with my students and being with my students and being able to bring all of those perspectives to you as me as my brand and bringing those to the table. So as I move forward, this podcast will still stay in place through the lens of learning. It ties in perfectly with me as a lifelong learner. I know that things will grow and shift and change as I move forward, but I realized, and I fully contribute that to clearing the clutter. So shout out to Brittany Bowman. And if you are not a fan of hers, check her out. I know Facebook is the biggest place, and I believe Instagram, Clutter HQ, Brittany Bowman. And I attribute it to clearing that clutter and helping me kind of clear my mind and trying to find simplicity and efficiency and what's the right way to move forward with what I'm doing and be the most effective in how I'm doing it. So this is how I see this. I am very open, transparent. I want to share that with you. There have been pivots and turns and shifts, so I'm not saying that that won't happen, but when I have such a strong urge and such a strong inkling when I wake up and something like that comes to me, I'm not going to ignore it either. That's my huge sign. I think, and I try to find signs all the time, but you got to take the ones that really shout out to you and put themselves out there for you. So that is where I'm at in my journey right now. And I will tell you, if you are on the Learning Hub, which is on the Mighty Networks platform, I am still trying to figure out what happens with that and where does that go. I'm not fully committed to closing that down and shutting down shop on that. And that is not attributed to any particular brand. Like it wasn't associated just with the Society for Lifelong Learning. So I'm still trying to figure out, how does that work in the mix or not work in the mix? So there'll be a lot less posts and interaction in that platform, I would say, in the next couple of months, until I get a better understanding or idea of what that looks like. So just being open and honest there with you on that. So if you are not already connected with me on some way in LinkedIn or Facebook, please make sure that we do connect. Instagram is the other way. Instagram probably is more for the reels and the stories, posting those short little video clips on there. Whereas I'll have more juice and more contributions on LinkedIn and Facebook, and letting you know about different events that are coming up. So wanted to share that with you. I also have some big things coming up in October. As many of you may know, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October. All year should be breast cancer awareness. But in October, there's really a strong focus on that across at least the US. And I am planning some things. It will be the 3rd annual donation drive that I have for the bras and feminine hygiene products, and also opening up to monetary donations if anybody wants to do that. And I'll share more on that later. But anything that you want to find out, if you want to get on my email list, you're not already, go to tracyshroyerphd.com. It's TracyShroyerphd.com, and click to get your list of 100 ways to upskill personally and professionally, and you'll be added to the email list. And with that, I thank you for listening, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye. This podcast is brought to you by Upskill University. You can find more information about how to become part of the Upskill community for free, this and other episodes of the Through the Lens of Learning podcast, and more on the website at www.upskilluniversity.com. Thanks again for listening, and have an awesome day.